This is Sarah Kelly, Be Girl Be Love, and I wanted to make a quick vlog quickly about dancing and keeping your heart pure. So, I got saved in 2008, and I had gotten out of some bad abusive relationships and was realizing the value that I had in Christ. And so I swung from like letting guys treat me any type of way to being extra guarded and extra critical of men. And I looked at men as like a liability. So I started to break dance because I wanted to do a powerful dance that would not be like sexualized, but like be empowering. And so even to the point where I'd be in Zumba and I would like get up and walk out if a song was too like sexually explicit. I also, by my own choice, threw away most of my old music, and I got like all Christian music. And still to this day, that was 10 years ago, I mostly listen to like Christian music. And if I don't like the lyrics, I'm getting better at like making my own songs up in my head. Or like if there's a love song, I'll sing it to Jesus. So like I have to take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. And that's all something I want to do, because before Christ, my life was a mess. And now there's still challenges, but I have that peace, and I know I have that eternal connection with Him that just is loving and beautiful and wonderful. Anyways, what does this all have to do with dance? So basically, I never would have done salsa dance. I wouldn't have done anything. But God had to get me to a point where I started to forgive men. This is just in my heart, in my personal life, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about guarding your hearts as a dancer, keeping your heart pure. So do whatever it takes to guard your heart. If you have to go through a season where you're cutting off guys, basically, unless they would give me like a clear like what, when, where, and why, I was not hanging out with them. Any loose ends or weird stuff, I would not hang out with any guys alone. I was very rigid about this, and I was very awkward. Like, even to the point where I'm like, I have to deal with what I have to deal with. I would have a flashback like of, abuse or bad things. Like, I would just, like, guy would be like, hey, do you want to do this? Why not? And I'd be like, because I got raped. And I would just cut the air and like be awkward, and I'm like, and sometimes I still have flashbacks, and it makes me uncomfortable. And that's what it was. And like it's better than, just hanging out with people you don't trust, And so God eventually, checked me on that, and I needed to take that time where that was the healing process I went through. And then I got to the point where like God was saying like, I'm in men and they are good, so you got to forgive them. And because I forgive you, and you're going to block a blessing if not. So I began this process of like learning how to forgive men and setting boundaries and everything. And so with dance, that was something where like before I was like, don't touch me. Like I never wanted anybody to like, so salsa dancing was like out of the question. Like I wouldn't even go out to the bars with Christian guys. Like I was very rigid at first. But then I started to pray about it. And when I prayed about dance, and I prayed about how I could guard my heart, and even looking at like the kids I taught, because now hip hop is more transitioning into like working with film, and I'm like going through a lot of like training myself. So my business is still like sort of active, but it's like transitioning. I don't teach dance like I used to regularly, the same kids every week. And I think even about the kids, like, looking at the young women and like the young men too, like guarding their hearts. And like when they're dancing together, it's like I wouldn't want any of the young women to like feel uncomfortable, or the men either. But know that it's just like, especially women, like, but like knowing that it's a form of art, and somebody's not touching you because it's a sexual thing. People are touching you because that's where your hand goes when you're doing a swing dance, or that's what your hand goes when you're doing salsa dance, and that's like the best way to do this form of art. So when I started looking at it as like a form of art, it became different. Then it became not something bad, but a form of art. And this is how you practice like just like, you know, manners, or you know how to speak a language. It's like you learn how to speak art. And I really like the first swing dance lessons I started going to. It's like a guy can ask you to dance, and you have the right to say yes or no. And yeah, going out dancing in public, and especially where there's places where there's a lesson, was something I started to really like doing. And then finding dance partners that are really skilled at dance. It's fun. It's a great workout. And most of all, it feeds that artist desire through me. And for me, I want to use every form of art I have to display the gospel. So I'm thinking like, I want to learn these partner dances, because we can show like, you know, dancing with Jesus, making that exciting in art forms. We could show dancing with the devil, how he could lead you the wrong direction. We can show, you know, spiritual warfare, like angels and demons battling with dance. And I thought it'd be really cool to incorporate like salsa and swing dance, martial arts too. But I mean, this blog I'm making right now could even go for like, you know, if you're learning like martial arts, or you're learning even like break dance, and you're around like a teacher like of the opposite sex, and they're like having to help place your body and stuff. And obviously, you know, you have to be discerning, especially if it's not in a professional setting, like making sure it's in a safe spot, and there's other people around, and there's accountability and stuff like that. That can even cross over to film or any form of art you're doing. You want to have like that accountability around you, and people know where you're at. And so, but yeah, so I just wanted to hit these points about when you're dancing, that it's just a form of art. And it took a long time to like look at it that way, and to like really guard my heart while I was dancing. And even if like you're getting into the lyrics, and like you're listening to the songs, sometimes the songs are sensual. And like I said, I do two things when I hear lyrics like that. One, I change them. I make them something different. Two, I make it about Jesus. If it's not like an inappropriate sexual song, or like it's a romantic song, like he's our bridegroom and we are the bride, and he's pursuing us. So I make this song about me and Jesus. I could be dancing with somebody else, but I'm making it about me and Jesus. And that's where my mind goes. So I have to take my thoughts captive and make it obedient to Christ in my mind. And then the other thing that's like, now sometimes I am just getting better at like blocking it out. I pray in my head. Like I don't let any like lustful stuff from like the song or the environment, or like if I don't know the dance partner well enough, like I just don't let that stuff enter me. I don't allow it to enter my my vessel, my heart. I don't allow it to enter that. I tell people like I'm just, you know, here dancing at practice. I usually don't hang out with people like outside of practice. If I don't have the right, like, you know, if I think that might be like a risk factor. And then like even to the point where it's like, if let's say like I don't really date, but like I have guy friends or whatever, and like I just think, you know, if I get married and I'm like, the other thing is too, once I get into that form of art, it's like you're vibing with that person, but like I also know, like, I don't know this person, I don't know their values, I haven't really talked with them besides about dance. And sometimes you get to know people a little bit, but I don't try to get like too personal when I'm just here to focus on dancing. And they're a good dancer, then I like to dance with them. But I wouldn't, I don't know if like I would think about this sometimes as a dancer, and you can like leave your guys' comments, especially if you are a dancer, what do you think about this? But like now dancers and like if you have a girlfriend or boyfriend, or you're married and you're a professional dancer and you're dancing with people like for the sake of art and for the sake of the dance skill, and they're a skilled dancer and you want to do a project with them, and I'm thinking I would have to be like married with somebody that like wasn't like jealous about that, because I have had to work very hard to guard my heart. So I have the mind of Christ when I'm dancing with somebody, that I would want like my husband to like value that process. And let me flip this around real quick. When I do an art project or I dance with a guy that is either in a happy relationship with a girlfriend, or they're married, they're much easier to work with. And I'll just say this because they're not trying to hang out with you separately. They're focused on the business. They are like, and oftentimes like their communication skills are like really more clear. They know how to understand a woman because they have a working relationship with their wife or their girlfriend. So they communicate well. And so he who finds a wife finds a good thing, right? And that like, that's even a good thing for me too, because, if a guy's already in a relationship, like then I don't have to worry about him really like, I mean, most of the time there are those rare cases where like a guy is not happy in his relationship, and that's just a red flag. Like if that, I mean, you just shut that down anyways. And, yeah, like that's obviously not a good situation. Not anything I'm interested in anyway. So, I just, if somebody tries to like talk bad about me, about their wife or their girlfriend, I usually just change the subject. I don't even want to go there. So yeah, but anyways, otherwise, like the ones, like I said, that are in a happy relationship, like those sometimes are the best guys to work with because they get right down to the project, and they focus. And so for me, it's like I already consider myself like married to Christ in this. I consider myself like, if I'm there to work with somebody or perform or dance with somebody, like I really just want to like work on dance, and that's it. You know, there's that. So anyways, that's cool. I have different standards for like somebody that I would want to marry, but that's not when I'm going to dance class. That's a totally separate thing. And yeah, so that's how I guard my heart when I am dancing. And I just think like if I do get married and I have a husband that understands like I am, you know, guarding my heart when I'm an artist and a performer, and if I'm dancing with somebody, I don't know if my husband's going to know how to dance or not. That'd be great if he did. I'm not sure if he will or not, but like if he does, then I, you know, can dance with my husband. But if I have somebody else that I'm just working on a project with and I'm married, which honestly, like I said, I consider myself married to Christ now. This is me and Jesus, right? I'm not available. That's my claddle ring. So like that would even just be like another layer of a covering that I have a husband, like, so no lines should be crossed anyways. Cause like sometimes I have to, if guys catch feelings, I have to set that boundary. And you know, that I should bring that up. If you do have to set it, like if you think a guy's interested in you, and they're training dance with you, or even like martial arts or film or something else, like to set that boundary right away. Like just let him know, right off the bat, hey, like I'm establishing now that I'm not interested in dating, and this is just a working relationship. Put that out there. Don't apologize for it. Put it out there. And like sometimes I've had like, the sooner I put it out there, the more like smoothly it goes. And some guys are really there to just work on the art. Maybe they were interested too. Maybe they thought they could get a double whammy, but when they find out you're just there to focus on the art, you're not going to cross any lines, like, they'll be cool with it. And I've had guys be like a little mad at first, or a little like they'll give a little pushback, but if, you know, you're like, that's it. Like, I'm not budging on that. And here's the thing, you got to be willing to walk away. You got to be willing to know there's a million people out there that you could be practicing dance with. There is, my friends, and there's respectful people out there. So if you find a guy that's not respecting your boundaries, move on, because there's plenty of other people to train with. Like, and I just want to encourage you, sisters in the Lord, like, if there's a guy who's pushing those boundaries, set your boundaries. Have that conversation. Like, it's better to have that conversation than not. And just be like, hey, I just wanted to talk about this. Like, I'm not interested in dating. Like, you can even say something like, sometimes in the past, I've, like, accidentally, led guys on, and I just wanted to make sure, like, I don't do this in that situation. Don't be apologetic about it. Just be like, no, I don't cross that line. And then don't cross it. Because I think people run into problems and strings attached if you leave a door open. Like, you don't want it, but you maybe want it, and you're kind of interested, and like, you are looking for that partner. And I mean, if that's the case and you know the guy, I mean, one, I would say get to know him. Don't do that while you're dancing. Like, go get coffee or something, and then make it about that. And I would keep dancing separate, because, like, especially if you guys are, like, in an organization or a performance together, like, you don't want things to be awkward. And if that ain't your husband, then when the cords get ripped apart, like, that, it might be awkward. So it's better just not to start anything to begin with, unless you're sure. And you really need to pray through, like, the contents of your heart and what you want, and then have a respectful courting relationship. And for me, it's like, I don't just date just to date. It's like, I would date to court, and I have guy friends, and they need to stay in their friend zone. And yeah, if we're dancing together, we may be friends, or we may just be working on dance. But all that is very limited. And that's a sacrifice that I make. Like I said, I went from way extreme to, like, not letting anybody touch me, and so I would never do salsa dancing, never do this, to, like, God challenging me that men are good, and to forgive men, and to, like, starting to learn how to set boundaries. So, and then actually looking at it as an art form, and not as, like, a sensual form of, like, me expressing my, like, sexuality, but it's more a form of me expressing an art. And I want to train in this, like, to glorify God. And so I want my interactions with my male counterparts and my dance partners to also glorify and honor God. And I dance with, like, I have different male partners I dance with at different practices, and oftentimes I'm dancing with multiple people, and you're trying different moves, and you're learning new things from different people, and that's how, like, I get better. I know it's like, you got to speak the language to different people, so it's the language that you're learning. So anyways, yeah, I just wanted to make that clear, like as a dancer, it's definitely possible to guard your heart. You want to do that carefully, take your time, do it prayerfully, and then, yeah, even after that, it's like, even, a couple of guy friends that have like liked me, that's happened before, where they, like, don't want me, or they've told me, like, they feel some type of way about me dancing with, like, other guys, or training with other guys, or whatever. And I'm like, if you only knew, like, what was going on in my mind, and to keep that captive and obedient to Christ. And there was a time where I didn't know if I could do that, so I had to totally cut guys off. But now that it's like, it's like a fast for men, and then I lose less, like, desire to jump into the wrong type of relationship, and I learn more about God's plan for, marriage and sex is a good thing, and saving that for like that sexuality for your husband, and like when your husband on earth is not here, it's Christ, and you're saving yourself, even if it's for like you're single for your whole life and you're just saving that for Jesus because it's a good thing and he created it, and it's special and you want to save it, and that's not dancing. That's like just honoring God with your purity. Dancing is a separate subject. And making sure you keep that stuff separate. Like, I don't like the booty dancing and all that stuff. And there's a whole separate thing about like twerking for Jesus, and like, we don't have to get into that right now, but it's the contents of your heart and what you're doing with your heart. So just really make sure, like, when you're dancing, it's a very narrow path, I feel like, to dance and to guard your heart and to keep it for Jesus. And I'd be interested in seeing, like, maybe what some other women think, like, what's going on in their hearts when they are dancing as well. If you are a dancer and you go out salsa dancing or you go out swing dancing, like, I would be interested to see, like, what the way you look at this too, and shed some light on that, so dancers can stop getting judged. Like, if my husband doesn't dance and he thinks that I'm like, not being faithful with dancing, like, I'm creating this to like shed some light. Like, there is a way to keep your heart pure while you're dancing, and it has been a narrow path for me, and it's taken a decade of refinement and praying about it, and making sure that I'm obedient, and if I mess up in an area, like, getting back on the track to obedience, because I don't have peace if I'm in disobedience in this area. So anyways, yeah, I would love to see your guys' comments, and this has been a blog about keeping your heart pure when you're dancing, especially with like partner dancing, but really any kind of training, setting those boundaries, having those conversations with a partner that may cross the line, and just making sure that everything is glorifying and honoring God, because whatever type of movement we're doing to glorify and honor God, we want our interactions with other people, like our teachers and our dance partners and our fellow dancers, we want that to glorify and honor God too. So yeah, with that said, I would love to hear what you guys think. If you guys are dancers, or maybe you're not a dancer and you think some type of way about it, and maybe this has like cleared something up for you, I would love to hear that. But I actually hope to advocate for dancers on this, and like just of the art form of dance, and respect people who think, hey, maybe that looks too sensual, because that was me for 5 years. That was way too sensual for me. And then all of a sudden God gave me some scriptures and brought me through a different process of healing from broken relationships, and then I could look at dance not as like a relationship thing, but as an art form. And so yeah, if this was helpful to you guys, let me know. God bless you. Purity Princess Warrior blog. Yes, God is good. Praise the Lord. Yes, Jesus, peace. All right, bye.